Hi, and welcome to Finding Your Way Through Therapy. The goal of this podcast is to demystify therapy, what can happen in therapy, and the wide array of conversations you can have in and about therapy. Through personal experiences, guests will talk about therapy, their experiences with it, and how psychology and therapy are present in many places in their lives. With lots of authenticity and a touch of humor, here is your host, Steve Bisson.
Thank you, and welcome to the Friday episode of the 100 episode week. I hope you enjoyed the last episode. It was quite a surprise, I'm sure, for some of you. And truly, if you want to see an authentic who I am type of person, and hey, that interview was interesting, that's going to be the one. I'm not saying what it is just because I want you to go back and listen. But for the Friday episode of the 100 anniversary week, I have two people that I've had on the show multiple times. One of them is Pat Rice. Everyone knows Pat. And if you don't, go listen to his episodes. Pat is a near-death experience, talks about spirituality, among other things, substance use, and being sober for over 37 years. And Morgan Beard, who we're going to call Money now because that's what I want to call her. And that's what she told me to call her. So I respect that. Money is someone I met a few episodes, I think in my first year. And she was referred to me, and we've just developed a friendship. She is such a charming woman, just a great, amazing human being too, who works really hard, an amazing coach. And Pat and Morgan never met, so can't wait to see what that does. And here is the interview. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to what I call my self-centered celebration of my 100th episode. And I'm going to be putting in a interview every single day. I think I really wanted to meet a few people that I've seen before that I really appreciated. And one thing I got in pre-interview from both of these guests, they're both sages in different ways. And I will start off by saying that Pat is someone I've known for a long time and I've heard of, and Pat had heard of me, and we were meant to connect eventually. And I think this podcast has just grown our friendship and our relationship so much that I truly wanted Pat on my 100th episode celebration for sure. And buddy, I don't know what to tell you other than you never know who you're going to connect with in life. And I listened to your music. We've talked a few times now. There's so much fun that I have with you, and it's just an easy conversation. And frankly, on my week of 100 episodes, I just don't want to be like having to go, how are you? And people says, good. I'm like, great. I killed a second. So I really wanted to have people I actually love and adore. And I want to introduce to everyone Patrick Rice and Money. So what I would like to start off with is that I know that I think you've been on Pat 4 times.
5.
Okay. Well, sorry. And Money, you've been on
a couple of other people. Yeah.
3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know who you are, obviously, but how about we'll start with Money and you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so my name is Muunie, and I am an artist, a creative life coach, and an embodied healer. And basically, the reason for that is because I've always needed creativity and healing in my life. I've suffered from depression and anxiety for most of my life, and really only in the last few years have really pulled out of it and started to understand, like, whoa, what makes me tick? What infuses me with life force? And what can I offer other people from what I've learned along the way? And my practice is moving into a more embodied space. I've been a life coach for almost 5 years now, and I started training originally as an art therapist back in 2015. But I burnt out on that path, went right back into depression, trying to just give everything and not giving enough to myself. So my practice with myself and my practice with my clients is how to reignite that life force in yourself, how to use creativity, how to heal yourself and empower yourself, and find the tools that are going to work for you specifically. I use all kinds of modalities with my clients, depending on what they love, what they care about, whether it's writing or music or dance. Obviously, we talk, we write. I do guided meditations and visualizations. I connect people with their deeper emotions and also their spirituality. But it really depends on who comes to me and what they're looking for.
And I think that this is a great connection with Pat Rice, because I think Pat has similar stuff going on. Of course, he has other things, but Pat, how about you introduce yourself now?
I've worked half a lifetime as a as a psychotherapist in dual diagnosis trauma work. And today is actually 37 years and 1 day clean and sober. That's what got me into it. We go to graduate school to figure out how a really smart guy like me could end up so messed up at my own hand, actually. And it's trying to self-medicate all of the trauma and all of that sort of stuff that happens. And as my first or second podcast was about, I entered this new rebirth, if you will, after a 2-day near-death experience and coming back and with a whole new mission. But I got into traditional psychotherapy, as we all do, worked very, very hard, too much, and worked in detoxes and treatment centers and whatever, and institutions and ER, and trained a generation of ER clinicians. And then I started to shift as my own path started to shift more toward energy work and spiritual guidance and whatever. And I do very little, if any, psychotherapy now. Being 75, I never know when it's that I can't commit to people for a long time. And I've been doing some forensic work, which is now waning as well by my choice. And as Muunie just said, is that I never look for a job or a client. They find you. And I'm hard to find. And so the ones that I'm hard to find. I'm a geezer, so I'm not out there the way everybody else is. But what I'm doing now mostly is energy work. I'm in a whole new exciting thing. I reconnected with a person I knew many, many years ago in Maine, who's an amazing healer, Carrie Keegan, and a quantum healer, just an amazing person. And it's been a wonderful kind of a reconnection to someone that was a soul connection. When I met her, she was a kid that was the daughter of someone I worked for. And now it's been terrific. But I've been getting a lot of energetic work and ascension work mostly. And the people that I'm working with now are people that are looking to get out of 3D vibration and get into a fifth dimensional kind of ascension process, higher frequency. But, I'm Buddhist, and the Buddha said famously that when the learner is ready, the teachers appear. And that happens when people come to me, and when you reconnect with soul connections, whatever that means to the individual. You just know someone. I've met all kinds of people that we both figured out very quickly. We've known each other before, but not in this lifetime that we can recall. But those are the types of truth that you just know something. And my sage aspect, if there is such a thing, is that so even uncomfortable to say it in public, but I will, that I've been dubbed more of an earth elder. And it's the work that I'm doing now is preparing people for the shift of consciousness that is happening. And in doing that, I have to keep myself in order. As Muunie said, is that if we put that bumper sticker on and said, take my advice, I'm not using it. And we all go through the burnout phases, and we're lucky to get back. And energy work really allows me, and the quantum healing work, which is all about frequency, is part of that. And what I did learn, you did say one of the things, Steve, might be the best or the most profound thing I've heard, was an old mentor of mine that I've spoken a lot about. He told me once, which was true. He said, remember this, it's all grief work. We help people grieve. And the Zen proverb says, let it go or be dragged by it. And whatever it is, whether it is past hurt, whatever, if I'm in the past in my mind, I'm alone and in conflict. And if I'm in the future in my mind, I'm alone and in fear. So it's getting away to be in the moment with the highest possible resonance of vibration. And you have to surround yourself with others like that, which is why people, especially musicians, it's all about the frequencies. And if your music catches somebody, it's resonating with their essential being in a way that is very positive. So that is a powerful, powerful thing, is how that affects the human condition. So, but what I really like more than anything, and I'll end with this, is that at age 75, I'm still learning every day. It's all new stuff. It's exciting. And I heard a long time ago, the only fountain of youth is to keep your body as strong as possible and continue to be curious. Because if you're picking up a remote waiting for the view to come on, you're done, or whatever. It's just stay curious, keep learning. And the people that find me are the ones that are seekers. And it's always natural. Sometimes the phone will ring and I just say, I have to answer that. And I know why the minute I do. So.
Well, I like the "it's all grief work" statement, because one of my favorite sayings is "no one gets out of here alive."
Mm-hmm.
And
we sometimes get a redo. I'll say that.
I do understand that, but for me, it's like no one gets out of here alive, so you might as well do the best you can right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Reiki practitioner myself, and believing in all that energy work and talking about everything that you're talking about, Carrie Keegan and you were on episode 66, and it was a great conversation. So just want to refer that to it. So, now that Pat has jumped the gun and told us already about the one thing that he's learned before I even asked a question, this is what happens with pre-interview questions.
I'm psychic. I'm psychic, Steve.
Okay. We should have left. Okay. Cut that out. I'm going to ask my editor to cut that out. He's psychic. But I guess I'm going to go to you, Muunie, and tell me, maybe you can tell me a little bit of that, the best advice or statement or whatever that you've ever had.
Yeah. I don't know if this takes the all-time crown, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, because it's a piece of advice I got recently, actually, as I am getting certified in Reiki myself. I just had my level 1 attunement yesterday.
Great.
Well, welcome to the club.
Thank you. Yeah. So the person that I'm working with starts by uncovering your human design, which is something that I had no experience with or exposure to whatsoever. But one of the pieces of advice she gave me based on mine was, notice when you're trying to prove versus trying to improve. And that was one of those like whoosh moments where I suddenly saw so many of my behaviors through a completely different lens of like, oh my God, there's so many things that I'm doing in response to an invisible program or standard I have for myself versus like an authentic desire, like you were saying, about staying curious and wanting to learn and grow, and just watching that underlying motivation in me of, am I actually doing this from an authentic desire to expand? Or is this trying to find like resolution to some narrative that I want to hold on to about myself? And when it's that one, it doesn't work as well. It doesn't flow. There's a lot of forceful energy behind some of these things. And then you look back, those are the pieces that kind of, oh, okay, that didn't really fit. I was forcing that.
That's a wonderfully authentic and humble reflection on it. And if that's another thing, that by staying humble and knowing that you're part of your own process as well as trying to facilitate it for others, we don't have to have the universe keep giving us these unscheduled humility breaks.
Yeah.
It's really being an authentic healer is taking on advice and learning. And then the minute you learn these little things, has been my experience, the minute I get another epiphany, another dimensional piece of myself in focus, and then it suddenly becomes usable to help others with it. I must absolutely be authentic, or I don't believe I have any kind of resonant power to influence others. And I'm one that uses my Reiki master energy work to attach to words. I'm more of someone that I want my words to be metaphorically powerful for people and useful to people. And I've been told that that's one of the things that I can do is to keep showing up and trying to do the best, but knowing that the wind in my sails is not my ego. The wind in my sails are the ascended masters and all of the higher beings that have instructed me and are guiding. And we're never alone if we're willing to ask for help like that and be humble. and just to do in the Buddhist tradition, to just project loving kindness and calmness more than anything. The other piece that I was told a long time ago is that when you don't know what to do next, remain calm, that your calmness is curative to people that aren't calm.
Right.
So often when people aren't calm, you can't say anything right. So as the Buddha said, if you can't improve upon silence, don't try. Just breathe. So
I think to that same statement that you said, and I remind people also that if you're only waiting for your turn to talk, you're not listening, so don't talk. Because I think that sometimes people will let you say, like, you'll say something and they haven't heard a word because they're just waiting for their turn to talk, and that's not a great way to live life. So that notice when you're trying to prove versus trying to improve is very similar to that, in my opinion. I do like expressions a lot, but I also think that you need to listen to people because everyone has something to teach you. As you said, we learn every day. And if you don't look for that, you're going to be very lost, in my opinion. Well, on that happy, uplifting note, one of the things that this podcast, when it started at about 100 episodes ago, was to really make people understand that therapy can be whatever you want. Therapy can be the couch if you want to. It can be the CBT. It could be a 12-week aggressive thing. It could be what we talked about, spirituality, and talking about anything that you want. I think that what the goal I've met with both of you is that people are like heard stories and they're like, oh, wow, I can be this way and it's okay. But if you had to give people one thing they should know, or maybe two, I don't care, about therapy or coaching, what do you think that would be if it were up to you?
But what I tell people is that you're the customer. And it's no different if you're a golf pro or a tennis pro or a life coach or a psychotherapist or an analyst. You're going to get out of this process what you're willing to put into it. And that there's no magic bean. I'm not going to sit here and analyze you and come out like Yoda and with some profound thing that's going to change your life. But what we know, my field, when I was a traditional hospital-based or institutional-based clinician, my field was not called psychiatry. It was called behavioral medicine. So I remember learning very early on in the behavioral model is that you will behave your way into feeling and thinking differently. You won't think your way into behaving or feeling differently. So it's about we focus on behavior. And so I tell people, if you're going to meet me halfway, be as honest as you can. My job is to create a safe environment, but you have to instruct me as to what works for you. And one disclaimer I've given everybody I ever worked with professionally is that if after a couple of sessions you just know in your heart, not in your head, but down here in your heart, it's a heart-centered thing, this evolutionary process, is if you know in your heart that I'm not your guy, tell me that. And I will do everything in my power. I know a lot of people. I've trained a generation of them. I know we'll find someone that is good for you, but you have to be honest with me. Don't take care of me. I won't hurt his feeling. No, you hurt my feelings if I somehow find out that I've not been giving you what you're really hoping for and what you come for. So it's be the customer. I've said that over and over and over again.
I like that a lot. I want to hear you. Like, I could see Money's got the right sentence coming out, so I'm going to go for it.
No pressure. Yeah.
No one listens. Don't worry.
But Steve, I want to please you. So
yes, I love it. Love it.
Yeah. Be present in the moment. You can make great jokes. So I think in a similar vein of like, you're the customer, it's about you. I like to try to caution people about two opposite ends of a spectrum of like trying to find the right relationship. Because to me, it's like about finding the right relationship where you feel like you're going to trust the person and be able to be honest and open enough, or someone who gives you that feeling of like, ooh, I'm intrigued, I'm excited, I feel possibility where maybe I didn't before. It's like, look for the person who gives you that feeling. Like, try out some people, see how you feel, get on consultation calls, talk to people, ask questions, and notice how you feel in different conversations, like what's happening in your body, what thoughts are coming up. But also, don't interview 100 people and decide, oh, no one's perfect. Choose someone, because someone will be good enough to give you access to the things that you want. So do commit, like, do your research and see how you feel in different situations, but do the humble thing of asking for help and like making a commitment to someone, which is really just making a commitment to yourself.
Exactly. Well said.
I just want to clarify. You said no one's perfect except present company excluded, correct? Just want to clarify.
We're all perfect beings. But yes.
Housed in a very imperfect vehicle.
Yeah.
I got two words. I got two things I want to say about that. So I tell people, if you think you're perfect, then you're arrogant, therefore not perfect. So there's no such thing as perfection. Number one. Number two, I remind people in therapy that I've never fixed a human being in my life. I barely can work on my own stuff. So I've never fixed a human being. I've given them tools that they needed, but I've never fixed a human being in my life. So you come in, you tell me what you need, I'll give you the tools I know. But if you expect me to, you're going to sit there and go, figure me out and ask me the right questions, I'm like, you got the wrong guy. And if you think that there's someone out there that can do that, good for you. But I don't know of anyone who could do that very consciously anyway.
The language of like the fix me person, and like, I have this problem and I'm that problem, fix me. Like, I feel like my work is really to help that person discover that they're not this lump of problem to be fixed, to see what they have and not just what they need, but like identify the ways that they're blocking their own energy, they're blocking their own joy, they're blocking their own creativity, and really just kind of like uncork. But they have everything. They're there, they're whole, they're complete. But there's always this like blind spots and ways that we limit ourselves.
I think it's right. There's a lot of what we're seeing now is that there's a whole new wave of manifestation consciousness coming in. How do I manifest what I really want? And we know that if you live in a script and you keep projecting that, the energy of that negativity or whatever it is, past hurt, resentment, and all of that, that's what you will attract. By the way, I just want to put a plug for someone that I have never met, but I've found and have listened to a lot of his short videos. It's a Brit, a young fellow by the name of Matt Cook, and he is a manifestation therapist. He's brilliant. And you can find him anywhere. Find him on Instagram or something like that, Matt Cook Coach or something. But he simplifies the quantum. He simplifies everything. He's got that genius to take complex and simplify it for the masses. What I've learned, though, is people start to manifest, and they get into. I was once said that a human being, Americans especially, can furnish a rut, as you just get comfortable in what's familiar. And it takes a lot of courage to change and to heal. And I try to get people to take ownership of that process. And I had one person come to me, you reminded me of this. He didn't want to be fixed. What he was looking for, I just want to know what the rules are. What are the rules? I can't figure it out. And I said, well, and I remember what I was told by the mentor that I've referred to so many times. And he said, there are 3 rules in life. The golden rule, which is, the biblical one, treat people as you like to be treated, treat others. The silver rule, which is to treat yourself as well as you treat those you truly love. If you wouldn't put it in your child's body, don't put it in your body. On and on, these things. And the iron rule, which is you never do something for somebody else that you can teach them to do for themselves. That's don't give them grain, teach them how to grow grain, feed them for a lifetime. So that those are the rules. And I remember he had that moment. He just said, whoa, no one's been able to give me the rules before. And I said, well, yeah, write them down. I want you to write them down. And we talked, then the whole session, for many sessions, became about these little epiphanies he was getting as he was, he came from, I think, New Hampshire, and he used to record the sessions. So he'd listen to them on a tape or something when you go back each way. And he got a ton out of it because he said, can I record this? Because I keep, sure. And that was what he listened to. And then he was, all this information, his own heart-centered information was percolating up as he thought about this. So that's one of the wonderful tools, And Steve just taught me that you could actually record on Zoom. So it's actually, I have people doing that now because it's simple. Be the customer. You're going to pay for this, so you're going to put yourself into this. So take from it, and you can continue to learn long after we've met.
I love that what you said just hit home so well for him, that he was like, what are the rules? You're here they are. They're three.
If you have, I don't believe that I say anything original. It's all coming. I'm a channel for it, and I then benefit from it. There are times when you just kind of get in the flow and you stand by and you go, geez, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
I don't ever recall saying that. And, we used to say about detox, what's the best detox when someone needed a detox for chemical dependency? And what we say, if someone's ready, wherever they end up is going to be perfect. And if someone isn't ready, it doesn't matter where you send them, it won't work. They have to be wanting to change. You can't hypnotize someone that doesn't want to change. I think that it's far simpler than it seems. And that's why I love Steve's book, is that Shameless Plug Division. It really just, you could pick it up anywhere in there. And I think when people are open to trying to get the most out of the process, what is useful to them will jump off the page. When the learner's ready, teachers appear. And sometimes it's the printed word. A book falls open to a certain page. You read spiritual literature that you've read, like step work and recovery programs. You can read it for 25, 30 years. And all of a sudden, on one moment in time, this one paragraph jumps off the page because now it's useful to you. But you haven't stopped the ritual. You keep opening the toolbox and saying, what do I need here? So
I think you taught me, Pat, that there's only 3 original ideas. They just get recycled over and over again.
If you go back, like you're talking about your name being of Sanskrit origin, it all comes from the wise elders, the planetary higher beings that gave us all of this. There are a few Sanskrit scholars that are going right back to, it's all the same stuff. I've studied tons of it. I kept thinking I needed to write a book, and then I kept picking the book. Oh, it's already been done. It's all the same stuff. What we do as individuals, and when people pair with us in that contract of mutual helping, if you will, that we both bring an energy field into that. We merge them, and we're greater as a pair. But what we're doing is channeling everything that has ever been learned about this before. And I believe we basically retain all of the knowledge, or it's available to us that there is. We just have to stop getting distracted by all of the chaos around us. To it could have been me, I can't remember, but I've said it so often, is that the world around us, the 3D world, screams. The universe whispers. We have to get quiet. That's why I love music, whatever kind of music. When you get in the flow of music, you start hearing the whispers. Sometimes you think it's coming from the music. Sometimes it's coming from the resonance that the music inculcates within you. So I'm going to now really, really mine her musical repertoire. So you have to send me some links so I can find you. Okay.
Sure.
I'll definitely send you some links too.
Thank
very
you.
good, by the way. It's the visual. You can listen to the music, but the visual of the video. And sorry, I'm plugging you now. The visual is actually amazing, and I really like the videos too. So
I look forward to it.
You can send your music, I'll send your videos, or vice versa. I don't care.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about sort of the what I would call like the necessity of the negative space, because there's so much positive space, quote unquote. And I don't mean good and bad. I mean like a lot of stuff versus the absence of stuff. And it's sort of like actually being willing to receive help versus sort of mentally being like, no, I've got it all figured out and da 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 da. But you have to leave some room if you want new information to come in. And man, there's so many times in my life where I've been like so sure I've got it all figured out, but I didn't know that that was the energy I was coming to it with, and just being like, why is this working? And then when I finally allowed myself to get quiet and accept help, like, oh, the answers do come in if I'm willing to listen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that I go back to a quote, and I'm just going to, for 2 seconds, that I think it was the Dalai Lama was asked, someone's like, I want to learn how to be mindful. And the Dalai Lama said, okay. And she says, how long does it take? And Dalai Lama responded, 10 years. And she says, well, I'm really dedicated. I want to learn this. So he goes, 5 years. 5 years later, she comes back. I'm up to 5 years. Am I mindful now? He looks at her, 10 years. And I kind of remind people that that's what it is. You can't be in a rush to know everything. And mindfulness doesn't get better because you did it every day for 2 hours. Because if you're just doing it to get it done, it's not going to be mindful at all.
Mm-hmm. Like the quality of the practice, the how of the practice. I was thinking that earlier when we were talking about sort of like the limiting beliefs and the way people come in with that. And it's like we can keep repeating within ourselves the energy of those limitations in the way that we are urgent and stringent and it has to be like this. But I really want to change. I really want to improve. But it's like the energy of this is really not where the growth is.
I know it's hard. And sometimes people will walk in, when I practiced in an office for 30 years, people would come in and they'd be so wound up that literally even the plants started to vibrate when they'd sit down. And if you sit in that energy long enough, you can start to vibrate. So I can remember countless times. I was the first person that they'd met, first clinician, that would say, we need to breathe right now. So let's just settle down. I learned with a therapy group that I did, that our friend Dennis is still doing, is that the guys would process traffic for half an hour. So we started doing a guided meditation for 15 minutes, listening to surf, just to get them in the available place to do their reparative work, corrective emotional work, and not just be in the, doesn't traffic suck? Well, yes, it does. We've been over this. So it's, again, relaxing into the process. And it was amazing things happened when people can get into that moment of relaxation. And I've learned to facilitate it. And sometimes they just say, we need a timeout. So we trust me on this. It's not going to be kumbaya. But let's just breathe. Listen to the clock for a few minutes and just sometimes a little guided thing, but more often it's just find something that is non-threatening and not distracting. And I can join it with it too. So it's a mutuality thing. And sometimes, because we know that when you meditate or whatever as a group, even a group of two, it's a more resonant space. That energy builds up. You walk into a sacred space and you feel the energy. It's like tapping into like your spirit battery. Yeah, allowing people to learn how to become present for the work and not getting all jazzed up ourselves. Because some people bring a ton of energy into the room. It's hard to sit with them. The office I used for years was a closet just about in the hospital, where I worked in behavioral health. And it was very intimate, to the point where I had ivy growing all over the inside of the office on one wall. But I've actually seen that ivy vibrating with someone that was in there so agitated. So I have to be calm, and sometimes I just have to say, let's both of us quiet down a little. The energy, we can't contain this energy. So let's transmute it. And that's when I started actually learning at the quantum level that why we come into the Earth School is to learn how to manipulate energy, to change energy, the alchemy of it, if you will. You do that with people. Your music changes their energy. It changes you. So we're energy manipulators, if you will. And the world keeps people in a very low resonant energy level that is very, very jarring often. And so, I love these types of practices. I'm really curious about your music now. See, another thing. Every day is a school day.
Well, yeah. I mean, my music, at least what I've released so far, has been such a learning experience for me. I consider it primarily a learning experience for me, more than even sort of a musical output for the world, even though that was not my intention. But like looking back on it, I was like, wow, I needed to get this energy out in some way, and I needed to grieve a part of myself. And that's now looking back, like really what I see the thrust of the project that I released before as doing, or the role it's played primarily in my life, to kind of clear out that space, clear out some old wounding, so that now I can learn from a different perspective how I can use music and my voice, and the energy healing stuff kind of came to me as this big download after releasing that project. So it was like, whoa, now I have this whole other channel of how to understand what's happening around me that I didn't have before. Yeah.
What courage it took to do that. What courage.
Yep.
Well done. Well done.
I give a lot of...
She's resonant with that. She knows what it took. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it shows.
That's
what a wonderful aura you have. I just have to say, Steve, she has just this amazing aura.
Well, I think it's because of our presence and the energy conversations that we've been having. I think that helps when there's a good synergy going. And I want to go to something else, if you don't mind, because I want to say something to both of you, and because it comes from the heart. One of the things that Money really you taught me is, I remember our first interview, I said, I don't do expressive therapy. I don't do anything with arts. I don't do anything with that. And you are the one who pointed out, well, you do a podcast and people are hearing you and people are moved by your words and people will resonate to that. And that takes courage and that takes strength. And that's your expressive therapy. So I will always be grateful for you for bringing that to me, notwithstanding our friendship that we've developed overall, but that's truly the gift you gave me. And I can't thank you enough for that. And what I would say to you, Pat, is you really helped me learn to put in whatever my spiritual beliefs are. You can integrate them in your work, whether it's like in a podcast or in your life, or even in therapy or in coaching or what have you, when the opportunity is there, versus trying to force feed people. Not that I was trying to force feed people, but I would almost like I wouldn't talk about certain things about energy because I didn't think people were receiving it. And then with our conversations over time, not only here, but on privately, you really taught me how to do that. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And it's important for me to remember all the gifts you get from other people. And I think that the other part, like I see the glow that you're talking about, but I think we all have that glow in the sense that there's an exchange that's truthful, meaningful, and we're just connecting. And I think that that's what people tend to forget. And I want to say overall with my podcast, with you two, not saying anything else about anybody else, but especially you two, that flow is so natural. It was never forced. And I think it is that synergy, that glow, that whatever you want to call it. And I thank both of you for that.
It's a higher resonance. That's all. It's the frequency starts to get up closer to 5D frequency. Everything needs to evolve. We came here to learn how to do this. And there are 3 facilitators of that process here. That's why we're here. Now, I was taught by my guides, and I was reluctant because of all of the overlapping boundary training and everything, especially working with trauma, that the people that were starting to come to me were coming for something else. And that I had to be more truthful with my background, my story, which is when I started talking, which I never did for years, decades. I didn't talk about NDEs and things like that. And then I was given a strong message by the guides that you have got to. This is why we're sending people to you. And don't worry about it. We'll get you back. But you're the only one that knows your story. And when you put it in your music, or you put it on a podcast, or you put it, whatever opportunity you have to share this, if it's coming from your heart and you know it as your truth, you can't harm somebody with it. You really cannot, because it's motivated by love. It's motivated by the heart center, not the head. And just trust that. And over and over and over again, people came and as I said to others when I said, don't try to protect me from this information. Just talk. I'll listen. And my best friend in recovery, my buddy Mike, he and I, and he says, just talk to me. Just tell me what you know. I'll figure out if I need to know more. Because that's when minds open, nothing seems to be alien. Not that everything sticks and everything makes sense, but people will glean from it what is useful to them. It's the buffet, the spiritual buffet. Not everything is for everybody. But if we are motivated from a loving stance of just trying to help humanity in a heartfelt way, we really can't make mistakes, especially if we have supervision clinically, or if we got our own mentoring. We're not out of the chain of mentoring, that we rely upon we teach most of what we need to learn. I think that's what the Buddha said, and we continue to learn. And I don't know about the two of you, but some of my best teachers have been my patients over the years. The courage that they showed, the desire to heal, the desire to improve, to just keep showing up and trying. I've told many, many of them, they say, well, what do you think? I said, I think I'm sitting in sacred space now. The privilege I feel for being trusted by you, to share what you share, has taught me what helping really is about. Is that I come here and being available to help you, but you bring this extraordinary amount of courage and willingness to revisit the pain of the past so that you can finally let go of it and forgive yourself and to forgive others. It's sacred, sacred stuff that we do. And the space is absolutely, I still miss the office. I got to tell you, I closed the office, my version of it, the first of the year, but I bet I'll be back in one before too long. So but sacred space exists in the quantum field. It exists everywhere. Everything is connected. So,
well, I think that's why I do the podcast, because I get that connection with people that I also get from my clients and peers and people that I may not have met, or people that I don't get a chance to talk to. And I'll be self-centered a little bit here. I love these conversations. This is the stuff that I live for, because I love talking to my clients. I love talking to peers. I like to talk to people who might have a different point of view. It's not about knowing everything. It's about learning. And like you said, your friend said, you're going to learn what you can from a person. If I need to learn more, I'll let you know. And if I don't, that's fine. I'll move on. And I really appreciate that from you guys. But again, I'm going to ask both of you. You've been on my podcast a few times. Did you get anything from this podcast?
Yeah, Steve, I feel like you represent such an important aspect to me of how to talk to people and how to talk to a specific swath of people, where I think you have this sense of humor and authenticity and cut the crap, just realness that I respect so much and try to do my own version of. I mean, authenticity is like the number one value of mine, and I always try to bring that. But for me, I get like often very lost in like trying to say it all, or a long story, or flowery language, or like some sort of fluffy la la land stuff since living in LA. And I've absorbed that.
I'm moving soon.
And I'm done. I've learned what I needed to learn from LA. I'm going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But yeah, your particular brand of authenticity and presence is something that I really value and respect, and have had now several opportunities to ingest and sit with and hopefully blend with my own to create a better version of how I can deliver my truth.
Well
Thank you.
said. Yeah.
Thank you. And that's one of the things that I've always wanted to do in my life, is that I can't fake me. And the stuff that I kind of remind my clients is that, and the same thing for, we have these podcast conversations, but we have a pre and post interview with everyone. And we've had several of those, and I don't change because we're no longer being recorded. That's who I am. I'm not going to change who I am. And I think that when people see that, they feel it or they see it, they're like, oh, that could exist. And I'm like, yeah, well, maybe I swear a little less when my kids are around, but nonetheless, that's kind of who I am. So I appreciate that.
Well, as I recall, I approached you. I was told I kept getting the message from my guides that I was supposed to write a book. Well, it's why I didn't go on for a dissertation and all of that. Is that I really didn't. That bored me. I didn't want to. And so finally, I was told, no, you're not going to write. You're going to speak, and you need to get on something. And then you started talking about podcasts. I remember I approached you in November, I think, of whatever year it was, a few years back in peer supervision. And I said, if you get room, I've been told I'm supposed to do a podcast with you. And you said, great. I have lots of things I want to ask. So how it started. So my experience, did I get anything out of it? Oh my God. I show up to be facilitated by an extraordinarily spiritual and curious and honest man. And the resonance is just, I just show up and it's how I am. I'm just authentic too. Steve and I have been in the same room many, many, many times. So it may be just a tad more profane in that milieu. I don't know, but it's a huge resonance for me. I mean, it's like I couldn't do this late at night because I wouldn't be able to sleep for hours. And I get absolutely wired in the best possible way. I just get resonant, with this, because this is the energy that we see. This takes us all to a higher frequency. So I look forward to them. So when you say, hey, I'm looking for some, I'm in. I might have been the first person to respond to you. I'm not sure.
I believe you were, actually.
There you go. I'm all over that. Sure. If you want me, I'm in. Yeah.
I mean, like
what the blend was, I would trust your judgment, but
I'm just going to joke here for a second. I thought I had to send you a letter so that you can respond on paper that you can do it, and then I would have set you up.
Snail mail, yes, that's good. Yeah, I'm the guy that probably has 100 stamps. Honest to goodness, yeah.
I think it's funny. I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like I think I got to write you a check, and I can't remember what the content was, and I'm like, does anybody write checks anymore? And I'm like, yeah, if you're over 60.
That's right. That's right. I had to teach a patient how to write a check. He got a brand new checking account and didn't. And honest to God, I had to do that. He's now a therapist. I told him, you're not going to be doing that for much longer. You're going to be in professional psychology, and he is, and he's going to be great. But I taught him how to write his first check. So I felt it was like showing him a slide rule or an abacus or something like that.
We'll explain what an abacus is to everyone else who's like, under 50. But I just want to thank you, both of you. This was a great conversation. It went by really fast. And I just want to ask you if you want to plug anything or send people anywhere. Let me just go ahead. I'll go with you, Pat.
I would just say, if anyone is really interested in the Wise Woman Network, what was it? Episode 66 with Kerry Keegan.
Yes.
Seek out Kerry Keegan. She is an amazing human being. and is teaching me so much about the quantum healing paradigm, which will become probably, maybe even in my lifetime, become really part of mainstream stuff. We're on the fringes of it now with magnetic therapies and all of this. We are all magnets living on a huge magnet. It's all energy work. Everything is energy. So get curious about her, as curious as I'm going to be about Muunie. I really am. I feel like this is such an intimate opportunity to meet someone for the first time, and I thank you for being so open. But I'm really curious about the music and everything. So maybe we'll get a chance to have another conversation at some point. I'd like that.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I think we have a whole lot more to talk about here.
It seems like we've just begun. I agree.
Yeah. Well, the two best ways to find me are my website, which is under my old name, morganbeard.coach. I mean, plenty of people still call me Morgan. I only started going by Muunie pretty recently.
Okay.
And if you're interested in the music, you can just Google my name or look it up on YouTube, Muunie, and you'll find my visual EP called Elemental on YouTube, on Spotify, any other music streaming platforms. Yeah.
And you said that in Sanskrit, Muunie is sage.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that stuff. That's perfect.
I was pretty stoked.
I know, you should be. Boy, you've been around a long time.
That I knew.
Yeah, I know. We all have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you thank you again. And I think we have another episode in us where I think that the whole energy thing and everything else we talked about, I think we have another episode, and I definitely will be inviting you again. But more importantly,
I'm in. Yeah.
Thank you for coming for my 100 episode week. It means the world to me, more than you'll ever know. And yes, I only invited a few people, and you guys mean the world to me. So thank you.
Oh, Steve, thank you so much. Thank you for what you do. I know, and of all the people I know, none of us have ever really treated the worried well. I know the work that you do, and it is powerful, it is vital, and you treat the people that many people can't treat and don't know how to treat, and you don't scare easy. And my guess is that Muunie is the same way, is that the people that find you are the ones that somehow recognize your courage and realize that this is something that authentically can help me. And you can teach them because you know how you've done it yourself. Yeah. So it's I would love to do this again. Just give me a heads up. I won't need much. I'll make room for it if it suddenly comes out of the blue too.
I have a few ideas already. Thank you.
Oh, great.
Thank you, guys.
Well, this concludes the Friday episode of my 100 episode week. Thank you, Pat Rice. Thank you, Morgan Beard. I hope everyone enjoyed the whole week. I certainly did. It's certainly a great place to be to get to 100 episode. Now I can sit on my laurels. Of course I won't. I'm going to work harder, and I hope you continue listening to me for many other episodes. And next episode will be me talking about whatever I feel like talking about at that time. I wish I knew what it was going to be. I like to be very polished in these intros and outros. This one doesn't sound polished because I don't know quite yet what I'm going to talk about, but I'm sure it's going to be good. So come and join me for that.
Please like, subscribe, and follow this podcast on your favorite platform. A glowing review is always helpful. And as a reminder, this podcast is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. If you're struggling with a mental health or substance abuse issue, please reach out to a professional counselor for consultation. If you are in a mental health crisis, call 988 for assistance. This number is available in the United States.